It was 2 a.m. when my phone buzzed with his message. I need space. I sat up in bed, heart pounding, staring at the screen like it was a foreign language. We had just had dinner. We kissed goodbye. And now, this? My mind raced through every detail of the past week. His lingering looks, the way he pulled away when I reached for his hand, the sudden work trips. He thought I wouldn't find out, but something in my gut had been screaming at me for days. I got up, pacing the dark apartment, my bare feet cold on the wooden floor. The city outside was asleep, but my chest felt like it was burning alive. Space from what? From me? I checked. His location on Find My iPhone. Disabled. I called Jenna, half sobbing. She answered groggily, but when I said, "Liam wants space," she was wide awake. "Emily, don't you dare spiral. Let him come to you." But that wasn't how I worked. I needed to know. By 8 a.m., I had booked a flight to San Francisco, his supposed work conference. Jenna thought I was insane. A girl like you should be grateful, right? He's successful, loyal. Why ruin that with paranoia? But I wasn't paranoid. On the plane, I stared out the window, stomach tight with dread. I kept hearing his voice. "You're imagining things, Em. Stop overthinking." The classic gaslighting, making me feel crazy for noticing the cracks. At teen, SFO, I went straight to his hotel, adrenaline pumping. I hadn't told him I was coming. I wanted to see his face when I knocked. When I reached his room, my hand froze midair. Voices inside. One male. One female. I leaned in, heart pounding so loud I thought they'd hear me through the door. And then, soft as a razor slicing skin, I heard him. "Sophie." His voice, whispering her name like it was sacred. My breath caught. I stumbled back, dizzy. My Liam, the man who swore he loved me, was in there, whispering another woman's name while I stood on the other side of the wall. I fumbled with my phone, recording the audio, hands shaking, proof. Not just suspicion, not just insecurity, cold, hard betrayal. I texted Jenna. "You were right, but I had to see it." She replied instantly, "Emily, come home. You don't need this." But I needed to stand there, just a little longer, to let the heartbreak fully settle in. I waited outside that door for what felt like forever, my mind flashing back to every lie he'd fed me. "She's just a coworker. You're the only one I want." He lied, and I believed him. For the first time, I realized this wasn't about losing him. This was about losing the version of myself who trusted too easily. And in that moment, as I stood outside the door, I knew this wasn't heartbreak, it was awakening. I flew home the next morning, watching the clouds out the window as if they held the answers. My chest felt hollow, but part of me clung to hope. Maybe there's an explanation. Maybe I overreacted. Maybe he did need space. Not Sophie. Back. In my apartment, I collapsed onto the couch, surrounded by his things, his hoodie draped over a chair, his sneakers by the door, his cologne on my pillow. I buried my face in it, hating how much comfort it still gave me. Jenna came over that night, holding takeout and wine. "Emily, you don't owe him forgiveness," she warned. But I wasn't ready to let go. I kept thinking, a girl like me should be grateful, right? I had a man who said he loved me, who came home, most nights, who planned a future. Wasn't that enough? When Liam texted, "Can we talk?" my heart leapt. Against Jenna's protests, I met him the next evening. He looked tired, eyes puffy, like he hadn't slept. "Emily, I'm sorry," he whispered, reaching for my hand. I've been stressed. Work, life. I never wanted to hurt you. I searched his face, desperate for the man I fell in love with. He pulled me close, kissing my forehead. You're my person, Em. His words wrapped around me like a blanket. For a moment, I let myself believe him. He swore Sophie was nothing. Just a friend, someone from work who was going through a rough time. He said they talked, but it wasn't like that. He lied, and I let him. Over the next few days, he showered me with affection. Surprise lunches, sweet texts, late-night calls. It was like the early days again. My heart softened, even though a small voice inside kept whispering, "Don't trust it." I told Jenna about the makeup phase, but she just gave me that sharp look. Em, love bombing is a real thing. Don't let him manipulate you. I laughed it off, wanting so badly to believe in the good. We started planning a weekend getaway, just the two of us. He sent me Pinterest boards of cozy cabins, wine tastings, stargazing spots. For a moment, I let myself float in the dream. Maybe we'd get through this. But at night, I'd lie awake, replaying the sound of him whispering her name. Sophie. I couldn't unhear it. I couldn't unfeel the shiver it sent down my spine. I confronted him once, softly. Do you have feelings for her? He shook his head so fast, eyes wide. No, baby. Don't do this. Don't ruin us over nothing. His panic almost convinced me. Almost. I wanted to believe the best. I wanted the fairy tale ending. The one where love is enough, and mistakes can be forgiven. But deep down, I knew. There's no fairy tale with a man who keeps secrets. Jenna's words echoed in my mind. Sometimes the person you're fighting for is the one holding the knife in your back, and I was starting to feel the blade. So I smiled. I played along. I told him I trusted him, because I needed time. Time to figure out if I was crazy, or if I was standing on the edge of something much darker. The following week felt like walking on eggshells, every moment tinged with doubt. Liam laughed at my jokes, held my hand tightly, sent heart emojis, but my gut kept twisting. He lied, and I let him. I started noticing things, subtle changes. His phone, always face down. Silent notifications flickering across the screen when he thought I wasn't looking. Late meetings, sudden errands. Just work, he'd say, kissing my forehead. One night, while he was in the shower, his phone buzzed on the nightstand. Sophie's name. My chest clenched so hard I thought I might faint. I didn't open it. I couldn't. But seeing her name lit up the storm inside me. I asked him again, cautiously, "Are you sure you're being honest with me?" He wrapped his arms around me, resting his chin on my head. "Emily, come on. Why would you even say that? You know I love you." Gaslighting at its finest. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, but every time I tried, he deflected. "You're being sensitive. Why can't you just enjoy what we have? Stop creating problems where there aren't any." The manipulation was so smooth, I almost believed I was the problem. Jenna saw through it immediately. "You're living with a narcissist, Emily. They spin the truth so tight you start questioning your own sanity." I bit my lip, staring at the wine glass in my hand. "But I love him," I whispered. She leaned in, fierce. "Love doesn't mean letting someone break you, Em." Her words hit hard, but they didn't drown out the ache. I wanted to believe Liam could change, could be the man I thought he was. One night, unable to sleep, I scrolled back through our old messages, the sweet texts, the inside jokes, the promises. Tears blurred my vision. When did we start falling apart? Was it me? Was it her? Or was it always him? I began keeping small mental notes, the hours that didn't add up, the inconsistencies, the coldness beneath his warmth. I wasn't ready to confront him. Not yet. But I was no longer blind. There were moments when he'd catch me watching him and smile softly, brushing my hair back. "You're so beautiful, Em. I'm lucky to have you." And I'd smile back, swallowing the lump in my throat. Inside, I was suffocating. The anxiety gnawed at me during meetings, in the grocery store, while brushing my teeth. I wondered if Sophie was texting him right now, if he was thinking of her when he kissed me goodnight. I started pulling away emotionally, even though on the surface I clung harder. He noticed, of course. "You've been distant lately," he murmured one night. I wanted to laugh. Me distant? He had no idea, but I didn't confront him. Not yet. I wanted evidence, clarity. I wanted the truth, not just suspicion. And deep down, I wanted to see how far he'd go before his mask cracked. Because if there's one thing I knew for sure, it was this. A man who lies once will lie again. And again. Until you force his truth into the light. The unraveling came fast. Faster than I expected. One Saturday night, Liam suggested we go out. Drinks, dancing, just like old times. I put on my favorite dress, the one he used to call his weakness, and tried to ignore the storm in my chest. At the bar, everything looked perfect on the surface. We laughed, clinked glasses, swayed to the music. But I saw it. The way his eyes darted to his phone when he thought I wasn't watching. The tight smiles, the distracted touches. Then, it happened. We were standing at the bar, waiting for drinks, when his phone buzzed again. He glanced at it, and I saw the name flash. Sophie. His face softened, the kind of softness I hadn't seen directed at me in weeks. I couldn't take it. My stomach turned, and before I knew it, the words were spilling out. "Are you still seeing her?" The music blared around us, but it was like the world went silent. Liam froze, blinking. "What?" he said too quickly. "You heard me," I repeated, voice shaking. "Are you still seeing her?" His jaw tightened. "Emily, you're making a scene." But I didn't care. I was done playing small. "Answer me." People around us were starting to look. He leaned in, his voice low, furious. "You're embarrassing yourself. Stop it." His eyes darted around. Not worried about me, but about who was watching. I felt the tears threaten, but I forced myself to hold them back. "You lied to me," I whispered. "And now you want to pretend I'm crazy?" He shook his head, laughing bitterly. "God, Emily, you're so dramatic. This is why I needed space." And just like that, in front of strangers and bartenders and flashing lights, the man I thought loved me humiliated me. Publicly. He turned me into the crazy girlfriend trope, a woman falling apart while he stayed calm, collected. I grabbed my purse, my heart pounding so hard I thought I might faint. As I pushed past him, I heard him mutter under his breath, "Maybe you are paranoid." That cut deeper than anything else. Outside, the cold night air hit my face like a slap. I stumbled to a bench, sitting down hard, gasping for breath. My phone buzzed with Jenna's text. "Everything okay?" I typed back one word. "No." I sat there, alone, while inside Liam probably ordered another drink, smoothed his hair, kept smiling. That was the moment it hit me fully. This wasn't heartbreak. It was awakening. I had loved a man who would rather let me drown in self-doubt than admit his mistakes. A man who played the victim while slowly cutting me to pieces. A man who watched me break and called it my fault. For the first time, I saw the full picture. This wasn't a rough patch. This was emotional abuse, gaslighting, manipulation. And I knew, If I stayed, I'd lose myself completely. But not yet. I wasn't ready to walk away empty-handed. Not before I had the full truth. Not before I planned my revenge. The next morning, I woke up with swollen eyes and a pounding head. My apartment felt like a prison. Silent. Suffocating. Liam hadn't called. He hadn't texted. He was probably pretending none of it happened. Or worse, blaming me in his head. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the floor, fists clenched so tightly my nails dug into my palms. He left me. But he didn't break me. Not yet. Not ever. But God, the rage inside me was burning like wildfire. Jenna called. Her voice, sharp with worry. "Emily, you need to cut him off. Block him. Don't give him another chance to hurt you." I knew she was right. But something inside me refused to walk away without answers, without exposing the full betrayal. I went quiet for a few days, letting him think I was licking my wounds. I didn't answer his casual, "Hey, can we talk?" texts. Didn't pick up when he called late at night. If he wanted space, I was giving it, and watching closely. I scrolled through Sophie's Instagram. She wasn't private. Cute, polished, effortless. Photos at work events, brunches, gym selfies. And every now and then, a shadow of Liam in the background. His jacket, his shoes, his unmistakable profile. My stomach twisted into knots. They never expected I'd look this closely. But now I was. Now I was seeing all the pieces he tried to hide. And with every new post, every new tag, the isolation thickened. I couldn't tell anyone how deep I was spiraling. Not even Jenna. I started replaying every conversation in my head. Every time he called me too sensitive. Every time he told me to trust him. Every time he swore nothing was going on. He lied over and over again. And I let it happen. My dreams were filled with his voice, soft and deceptive. "You're imagining things, Em." I'd wake up drenched in sweat, heart racing, shaking from anger I couldn't release. This wasn't just heartbreak anymore. This was war. I began planning quietly, methodically. I saved screenshots, downloaded old photos, watched patterns. If he wanted to gaslight me, fine. But I was going to build a wall of proof so solid he couldn't slip out of it. The hardest part was pretending I was okay. At work, I smiled. On calls with family, I laughed. But inside, I was a storm waiting to break. And I knew. When it broke, it would level everything. The isolation ate at me most at night, when the apartment was too quiet, and his absence echoed louder than his presence ever did. But beneath the loneliness, something was changing. I was sharpening. Because love had made me vulnerable, but betrayal was making me powerful. And once I stepped fully into that power, there'd be no turning back. That week, I became someone else. Someone sharper, colder, more focused. I wasn't the Emily who cried on benches anymore. I was the Emily who watched, who tracked, who connected dots Liam didn't know were visible. I stayed quiet on purpose, giving him space to reveal himself. That was the moment everything changed, when I stopped trying to fix things and started trying to see them, really see them. I checked his Venmo history, tiny payments to Sophie. Lunch, coffee, Uber, things he never mentioned to me. I felt my stomach clench, but I didn't cry this time. I saved the screenshots, calmly, like evidence for a trial. At night, when he called, I let it ring. When he texted, I waited hours before replying, short and polite. I wanted him unsettled, unsure. I wanted to flip the power dynamic he'd been controlling for months. Jenna noticed the shift. "You're scaring me a little, Em," she said, over drinks. You're not acting like yourself. I smiled faintly. Maybe I'm not, I admitted. But deep down, I knew. This was the self I'd buried to survive him. I even met with Sophie, by accident, or maybe fate, at a mutual friends event. She was sweet, bubbly, completely unaware. "Oh, Liam's so funny," she gushed, laughing at something he'd texted her. My chest tightened, but outwardly I smiled. I didn't confront her. I didn't even hint. Why? Because I wanted the truth to come from him. I wanted him to stand there, stripped of excuses, facing everything he'd built on lies. The more I uncovered, the more determined I became. I went back through old photos, comparing timestamps, locations, captions. He was sloppy. He'd always been sloppy. But I had been too blinded by love to notice. I started picturing the confrontation, his face when I laid it all out, the denial, the panic, the unraveling. And instead of heartbreak, I felt excitement. A cold, precise kind of thrill. I wasn't angry in the explosive way anymore. I was angry like ice, sharp, quiet, lethal. This was no longer about saving us. This was about saving myself. Late one night, while I was scrolling through months of DMs between him and Sophie, yes, I had found a way into his old accounts. I realized just how deep the betrayal ran. It wasn't just flirting. It wasn't just moments. It was us, crumbling over months of quiet cheating. I closed my laptop, leaned back, and smiled to myself. I just smiled, because he had no idea. No idea that the girl he thought he was outsmarting was 3 steps ahead, waiting to bring it all crashing down. By the time I invited Liam over, I had rehearsed every word. My apartment was spotless, candles flickering, wine on the table, a picture of calm. He walked in, grinning. "Hey, baby." He kissed me like nothing was wrong. I played along. I poured the wine. We sat on the couch. He wrapped his arm around me, scrolling casually through his phone. I watched him like a scientist watching a specimen. He had no idea the ground beneath him was already cracking. After dinner, I looked at him and said softly, "Liam, can we talk?" His face tensed, just for a second. "Sure, babe. What's up?" His voice was smooth, but his eyes darted, calculating. I pulled out the folder, printed screenshots, Venmo payments, Instagram tags, the DMs. His face paled. "Emily, what is this?" His voice cracked just slightly, and I knew. I had him. "I know everything," I said quietly. "I know about Sophie. I know about the lies. I know you've been gaslighting me for months." His mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. "Emily, baby, it's not—" "Don't," I cut in, voice ice cold. "Don't lie. To me. Not now." My hands were steady, my heart surprisingly calm. I just smiled, because he had no idea how long I'd waited for this moment. He begged. Oh, how he begged. "It was a mistake. I didn't mean for it to happen. You're the one I love." Tears in his eyes, hands reaching for mine. I watched it all, feeling nothing but a hollow satisfaction. "This isn't love, Liam," I whispered. "This is betrayal. This is manipulation. This is you choosing yourself over and over while pretending to choose me." He flinched like I'd slapped him. I stood, grabbing his jacket from the chair. "You need to leave." His face twisted. "Emily, please, we can fix this." I shook my head. "We can't, and we won't." My voice didn't even shake. He tried one last time, falling to his knees, arms wrapped around my waist. "Please, Em, don't do this." I looked down at him, This man who had humiliated me, broken me, gaslit me, and felt only clarity. "Get up, Liam," I said quietly. "Get up and get out." His shoulders sagged, and for the first time, I saw him not as my boyfriend, but as a man stripped of his power. A liar caught in his own web. He left without another word, the door clicking softly behind him. I stood in the silence, heart pounding, tears finally slipping down my cheeks, not from heartbreak, but from release. I sat on the couch, staring at the folder of evidence. They never expected I'd fight back. But I had, and I won. Not with screaming or revenge posts or public shaming, but by taking my power back, silently, completely. I poured myself a glass of wine, leaned back, and let out a shaky breath. For the first time in months, I felt free. And I knew this was just the beginning of reclaiming me. The next morning, I woke up to silence. No good morning baby text. No half apologies waiting in my inbox. Just sunlight streaming through the window and the sound of my own breathing. I had never felt so light. I walked through the apartment, slowly, touching the spaces where he used to exist. The corner where his shoes piled up. The spot at the table where he worked late. The empty shelf where he kept his keys. Each absence felt like a gift. Jenna came over with croissants and coffee. She wrapped me in a long, fierce hug, whispering, "I'm so proud of you." We sat on the couch, eating, laughing, and for the first time in ages, I realized I could laugh without him. Over the next few days, I blocked him on everything: phone, socials, even email. I deleted old photos, cleared the saved texts, took back my playlists. Every small act felt like peeling off another layer of his control. Went back to yoga, picked up books I'd abandoned, called friends I'd pushed aside. It was like I was waking up from a fog I hadn't known I was in. I walked away, and I never looked back. People asked what had happened. I told them just enough. It didn't work out. But inside, I knew the truth. I hadn't just left a man. I had left emotional abuse, gaslighting, and betrayal. I had saved myself. One night, scrolling through old voicemails, I found one from months ago. His voice, soft and loving. "You're my whole world, Em." I stared at the screen, heart steady, and hit delete without a second thought. I went on a solo trip, just a weekend by the beach. I walked barefoot in the sand, let the salt air tangle my hair, watched the sun sink below the horizon, and I thought, this isn't heartbreak. This is awakening. The Emily who came home wasn't the same girl who had begged for love, who had waited outside hotel doors, who had silenced her own instincts for the sake of keeping a man. She was gone, and I didn't mourn her. One day, Sophie reached out, a soft apology, not knowing I knew everything. I told her gently, "We've both been hurt. Take care of yourself." I wished her well, and for the first time, I meant it. Months passed. Liam tried, once or twice, to circle back. A vague message, a mutual friend mentioning his name. But I didn't respond. I didn't need to. My silence was my revenge. My life, moving forward, was my closure. Sometimes in quiet moments, I think back to that girl at the hotel door, trembling, listening to him whisper another woman's name, and I send her a silent promise. We survived. We made it out. Healing isn't clean or easy. Some nights I still feel the echoes, the flashbacks, the what-ifs. But I remind myself, the power shift already happened. I am not who I was. He thought I'd be broken. He thought I'd wait. But instead, I became the version of myself I was always meant to be. Whole, fierce, and finally, free.